Hey guys, I want to welcome you to the O2 Information Night. This is for current U10 players. My name is Ryan Moore. I'll be leading you through tonight's presentation. So here's tonight's agenda. Essentially what's going on is that U11 is the first time players are able to have a tryout for a competitive team. We want to talk about how the tryout process affects competitive teams and then the other programs that we offer here at Skyline. So the goal of Information Night is to provide all members all information necessary so they can make the most informed decision for next season. And we've included the birth date range down there at the bottom to make sure you're in the right spot. So we have three programs offered this upcoming season. We have recreational program, intermediate program, and the select program, which is our competitive program. For those of you that have been playing cross quad or option one, intermediate is replacing that, and they're at CYS are making it easier for us and calling it all the same thing, so you won't be hearing option one or cross quad going forward. With the different programs come different philosophies. So our recreational program philosophy is to focus on teaching the players the basic skills of soccer in a fun environment where the stress of winning is not high. For our intermediate program, we still want to teach them the basics of soccer in a fun environment, but there's an increased competition level and structure of play compared to that of recreational. For our select program or our competitive program, our focus is on individual player development. We're going to use age-appropriate training methods to develop the complete player. The complete player excels in four categories: technical ability, which is the player's ability to manipulate the ball to have a desired outcome; tactical intelligence, which is the player's ability to read the game and make the best decision; physical attributes, which include size, speed, strength, coordination, things of that sort; and psychological elements, which includes resilience, commitment, and social aspects such as teamwork, respect for opponents, teammates, coaches, and referees. Players will begin narrowing in on a few positions rather than all positions at the select program, so we want to make that note. So the recreational program is a one-season commitment, whether it's fall and spring, it's one season, just fall, one season, just springs, and you can make two commitments throughout the soccer year. The season dates for the fall are September 8th through October 29th. The teams will play 11v11 format with goalkeepers. CYS was trying to maybe think of 8v8 at this age group. They've gone ahead and decided to stick with 11v11 as they've done in the past, and this is the most up-to-date information regarding their decision. The ideal roster size for 11v11 teams is 15 to 17 players. Players will continue to use the size 4 ball, and they'll stay in that size ball for a couple more years. And within the recreational program, there are two flights. There's an A flight and a B flight, but ultimately that recreational program, those teams play in the least competitive leagues. The contact person for any recreational families is Liz Greer, our recreational director. For the intermediate program, there's a lot of similarities between that intermediate and recreational. But we want to talk about the differences. So the Intermediate League is run by CYS. There are three flights: gold, silver, and bronze. The silver and bronze divisions play in the South Denver metro area, which we'll go over which teams you can expect in that, whereas the gold division is just a little bit more travel. It includes all of the city. So it's the entire metro area of Denver. And I would be your contact person, Ryan Moore, for any intermediate family. So the recreational program and intermediate program are coached by volunteer coaches. The volunteer coaches and teams decide training days, time, and locations based on availability through what we have permitted with Denver Parks and Rec. You guys will play 8 games. The teams that you can likely see are Evergreen, Aurora, Inglewood, Highlands Ranch, Littleton, Parker, Centennial, Broomfield, and Golden. And if you're playing in that gold division in the intermediate league, you'll see a little bit more teams, maybe a Boulder team, for instance. The uniforms are $55, and there's no change in the kit. So if you are a current U10 player, whether you're option 1 or recreational, and you have a jersey that still fits for next year, and you're going to stay in the intermediate or recreational program, you do not need to order a new uniform, as it's not changing, as you can see in our uniform model on the right there. For the select program, it's a full year commitment, so it's fall and spring. Here are the season league dates. For the fall, it's August 18th through November 10th. For the spring, it's March 9th through May 18th. There are some dates that CYS block out during each season, so the fall there will be no games the Labor Day weekend, and typically the first weekend in October. For spring, CYS usually announces a blockout date which coincides with one of the Denver Public Schools spring break weekends. Anything additional you do with your team, such as a tournament or playing winter indoor leagues, would be additional and will be determined by each team individually. Teams will play 11v11 format, just like our recreational intermediate programs, where the ideal roster size is 15 to 17 players. The question that I get often about the select program is where we're going to travel. For me to guess as who you can include in your division is difficult, as we don't know where teams are going to be placed and where the other clubs are going to be placed in their division. But the teams that you can most likely include are Evergreen, Aurora, Inglewood, Highlands Ranch, Centennial, Broomfield, Castle Rock, Boulder, Colorado Springs, and Fort Collins. And the thing to keep in mind is if you have a Fort Collins team in your division, you're likely only going to travel there once, as the other game will be at your home site. Players will use a size 4 ball, and I would be your contact person for all the select families. More information about the select program. So our coaching staff will be licensed staff, including a head coach and an assistant coach. Training days, times, and location will be determined by Skyline, and when we're determining location, we take into consideration where most of the age group is. Each team will be training 3 times a week, and we're going to go over the specifics of the training schedule in a moment. Teams will play 9 matches per season for a total of 18 games between the fall and spring. There are cases where you play 8 in fall and 10 in spring, or vice versa, but most likely you'll play 9 and 9. The cost is $670 for the entire year, which includes fall and spring registration. And the uniforms are $229 for a full kit. So a full kit includes a blue jersey, a white jersey, black shorts, black socks, a gray training shirt, warm-up pants, warm-up jacket, and backpack. So that $229 includes all of those items I just mentioned. So a look at the training schedule. Each team will be playing 3 times a week, but 2 of those sessions will be combined with the other team in the age group. We like this setup because we'll have an assistant coach and a head coach out there for those combined sessions, which means we still keep a 1 coach per team ratio, and we'll be able to mix up the groups. Another reason we like this training style is of the CYS player pass, which is something new that they're introducing. So under CYS in the past, if we wanted a blue player to help out a white player, a team on a given weekend, we'd have to drop that player from their current team and be added to the other team and be counted as a transfer against our add and drops for the entire year. Within our club coming up with Player Pass, we are allowed to move those players freely, similar to loan players. So we can move that blue player to a white team just for the weekend. Very easy, and that'll be helpful maybe spring break weekend where we have some players that are out of town. And that also makes it easier when the teams are training together and that blue player comes over and already knows everybody on that other team. There are some restrictions. Players are restricted to their program, so a select player cannot move to intermediate or recreational, and an intermediate player or recreational player cannot move up to select. There are some specifics that CYS is still working out, so we're going to keep our eyes on what they come up with as far as the final rulings are concerned for Player Pass. We're going to quickly talk about how teams are formed. So recreational and intermediate teams, those teams stay status quo here for us in the office. Teams will be rostered based on coach, team, friend request as best as possible, and we must consider roster spots available. So we have to make sure we're filling out teams accordingly. For the select program, we'll take advantage of the tryout process. For the tryouts for the U10s, will be Wednesday, May 29th from 5 to 7 p.m. at Kennedy, and Saturday, June 2nd from 11 to 1 p.m. also at Kennedy. Teams will be formed using this process, and after the process is complete, players will be notified of their team placement within 72 hours. There will be 2 teams in the age group, 2 boys teams and 2 girls teams. And when we're forming teams, Skyline coaches consider player ability, player commitment, and player attitude. So as far as player commitment is concerned, there's been some questions about if my son or daughter is playing another sport. At Skyline, we're not trying to tell you that you cannot play another sport. However, if that other sport's commitment requires you to miss 1 or 2 practices on a regular basis, we would feel it's unfair to put you on an A team for the other team members. Something else that's coming up are U10 players. Can they play on a U11 team? Yes, they can. However, CYS regulates the amount of players that can play on each roster, so that's something that we will take in consideration when we are forming teams. A concern that I've got are players are maybe concerned or nervous about the tryout process. There'll be 2 sessions, each session 120 minutes in length. More likely there'll be 110 minutes as we're gathering players who are checking in at the tryout process. We'll try to get as many minutes in as possible during our time. If you are unable to make both sessions, that does not disqualify your son or daughter from joining a select team. However, I must inform you that the more the staff is able to see your son or daughter play, the better the evaluation we can make as a staff. So in the tryout process really allows us to have 2 players playing against each other side by side, which is a big benefit of the tryout process. So the more we can see that player in that process, the better we can evaluate. There is a progression of our tryout, so if you've done the advanced Sunday trainings, you'll see that there's a technical warm-up, small numbered activities, building into small-sided games without goalkeepers to large-sided games with goalkeepers. So there is a progression there. The recreational intermediate timeline for the summer looks something like this. Registration will open in May. Team rostering will happen throughout the summer, June and July. Registration late fee begins July 30th, so if you sign up after this date, you will incur a late fee. And we can also not guarantee you that you'll be placed according to your team friend coach request. We have to have rosters in to CUIS that next week after July 30th, so we have to send them off. If you are signing up after that, it's not going to be guaranteed that we can get you onto the team that you were hoping to get on. Uniform orders will happen on soccer.com just as they've done in the spring. Please allow time for shipping. The shorts and the socks can get here very quickly as they do not need to be embellished. And embellished, I mean there's no Skyline logo that are on either one. So they'll be able to get you within 2 to 3 day turnaround business days. But for the shirts that require embellishment, soccer.com has to take it out of their inventory, put our Skyline logo on it, and send it over to us. That will take at a minimum 10 business days. So please allow time for shipping. And if as long as we're ordering in June and July and not the weekend before the first games, we should be okay. Training for these teams will likely begin the week of August 13th, and as stated before, the first league games are September 8th. The select timeline will look something like this. Players are to register using our online registration for tryouts in May. The tryouts are free. We're going to conduct tryouts. Team placement will happen that first week of June. We will order uniforms, and the ordering process for our competitive teams are a bit different. Team administrators will go in and enter in rosters. Each player of the roster will be sent an email from soccer.com with a link on it. That link will be specific to that player. So when you go online, a team number, your ordering information, that should already be on there. So something to consider as well is that because of Player Pass, we do not want duplicate numbers within 2 teams in the age group. If we have duplicate numbers and we want to borrow those players, it makes things tricky for us to do so. So there will be no duplicate numbers in the entire age group. Training for these teams will likely begin the week of August 6th. However, you may start practice earlier, so check with your team coach. League games, as stated before, will start the weekend of August 18th. If your team is participating in a tournament, as some of our teams are participating in Broomfield, you will need to check with your coach about those weekends so you are up to date. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us. I've included Liz Greer's information, our recreational director, and my information, the advanced level director for intermediate and competitive teams, on here. You can also give us a call in the office. Phone number is 303-691-5662. Our job here is to make sure that you have all questions and concerns taken care of, as we want you to have all information necessary to make the best decision for the next fall. So please don't hesitate to give us a ring. We look forward to seeing you out in the fields. Thank you.